We're back!
Hi, everybody.
I am Tanis.
I'm Chris.
And together we are,
TFA.
which stands for?
Tanis Fiber Arts, if you didn't know by now.
So this is a Tanis Fiber Arts podcast. You know, we have been podcasting inconsistently, I think since like 2017.
How inconsistently lately?
So we were on, maybe it was 2018. We like to go kind of like 2 podcasts on, 2 years off.
Oh, we've done this before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do one when we're inspired to.
So, you know what? I just like to keep people on their toes. It's like, oh, they think Tanis isn't podcasting anymore. Yes, she is!
Well, to be fair, we've been talking about it a lot.
We do. I mean, I love the podcast.
Yeah.
I just don't do it.
No.
But, you know, no promises. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I'm not like vowing that we're regular podcasters now, but I mean, wouldn't that be nice?
It's nice to be doing one again, yeah. Like, it's been too long, and I feel like they're a great way to stay in touch with people.
Yeah. And you know what else? I've been watching a lot of knitting podcasts recently.
Recently? I don't feel like that's a change.
So I go in and out. Like, I really like blogs. Like, I really like reading blogs, but nobody's blogging anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just a totally different experience. It's like just 3 minutes of reading a blog versus kind of committing to like sitting with my knitting and watching a 30-minute video or whatever. Mm-hmm. 30 minutes is kind of my limit. Like, I don't watch any knitting podcasts that are the length of a feature-length film. But I do enjoy to like have a little break with a podcast and knitting. So anyhow.
You have earphones. That's recent.
I got earphones.
It's a real blessing for me.
Well, you don't like listening to my podcasts?
Well, we all seem to be in the same living space at the same time. I like to listen to them on my own time.
Yeah, good. So here we are. So what's new? What's changed since our last podcast episode?
New house, new neighborhood, same city, but we moved in between our last episode and this one.
Yes.
Which is it wasn't a rushed move. It's been a while.
We've been in this house for
a year, full year.
Over a year.
Yeah.
We moved in 2020 and now it's 2022. It feels like a new house, like we just moved. But then I realized the other day, we moved in 2020.
I'm going to put this out there though. COVID is a year.
What?
Just accounts for 1 year. We're up on 2 and a bit now, but it feels like just
No, it's less than 2 still.
Is it?
COVID, for us, COVID started in March, and now it's January. So
I'm calling it a year. Whenever it ends, it's just a year.
For Chris, time is fluid. Time is...
Very.
What is time?
I don't own a watch. I don't know what time is.
So we moved in September of 2020. We... to our dream house, would you say?
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got it knowing it needed a lot of work.
So we got it thinking it was a cute fixer-upper.
Right.
It was not. It was beyond.
It's not cosmetic, what we've had to do to it.
Right. So we loved the style of the house. We loved the neighborhood. Like, we loved the lot. There's so much about the house that we loved. And we saw it. We fell in love with it. It had everything that we were looking for, because when you work from home, this was the big thing, okay? I don't know. Chris, time, right? Memories. You don't really remember or know this. This is probably news to you.
We'll see.
Okay. So for years, we knew that with our family and the business, we were outgrowing our old house. And
I did know that because we had more kids than bedrooms.
Yeah. And a business, the thing to keep in mind is that, like, if we were renting a studio space outside of the home, we would probably be looking at something at least 2,000 square feet, I think, right?
That I don't know.
I think so. So, because we looked at some spaces that were like 3,000 square feet and they seemed like more than we needed, but 1,000 square feet is not enough. So I think we would have landed at about 2,000 square feet. So when you think about it, our business takes up like 2,000 square feet. Our old house was like 1,200 square feet. Well, we had a basement that wasn't counted in that. I'm always confused about square footage, but basically we had a small house that we loved, but we always thought that maybe we would rent a studio. And if we didn't have the business in the house, then our house we would have lived much differently in it.
I think so.
And we could have lived there longer. But once we were like, you know what, and what COVID really made it clear how much we love working from home. and that we wanted to continue working from home. And so we needed a bigger home studio,
Yeah.
right? And so what that meant for us is that we needed a house with a really big basement. Don't you think? Because
it ended up that way, that there was 2 rooms in the basement that had been used as bedrooms, but we can use for the business.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, but though also we didn't look at many houses when we were house hunting, because so many kind of traditional layout houses have like a big living room and a big dining room, and that's not what we need. Like, right? Because and the other thing that we really were hoping for from the move, or I was a little bit more separation of work from home. And so I don't want to take this big living room and turn it into my workspace in the middle of the house like that I can't get away from.
Yeah.
And so that's been really successful with this move. I have 2 offices in the basement. I have my office. So there's 2 bedrooms in our basement. One is my office where we store all of the dry yarn, like the yarn on shelves, my computer, that's where I do all the shipping. And then we have a second bedroom where we call it the drying room, where we dry all of the yarn. And then I store all kinds of other stuff, shipping supplies and my personal stash and other yarn and business related things. And then it's spilled out into the main part of the basement as well. Like the playroom area of the basement has more shipping supplies, and things are always in flux. But
the difference is it hasn't taken over the entire house.
This is pretty much the only yarn feature on the main floor of our house.
Which is, and ironically, we're tucked away in the smallest corner of our main floor right now.
Yeah. So maybe one day we'll do like a house tour or something. But we love.
I was
going to
say that. I didn't want to lock you into it, but maybe in a future podcast we could do a little walkthrough.
So I'm just like weary of filming while moving, because I'm like not a good video camera operator. But we'll do our best.
I'm weary of filming anything while the kids are doing remote learning.
Right, we won't be doing that this week.
Yeah.
But maybe I can I was going to say put some pictures of the space. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen a ton of pictures. So basically, this wasn't supposed to be just about our house. I'm going to wrap it up. But we moved. Okay, we saw the house, the space, like the way that the house is laid out works super, super well for us. Fell in love with it, put in an offer, got it, moved. And then once we moved in, and we're actually in the space and using the space, using the kitchen, using the bathrooms, these projects that we figured we would do down the line over time became critical to do immediately.
Yeah.
Right? The kitchen was really not functional. The bathrooms were really
barely half functional.
Well, we never figured out how to work the shower in the kids' bath.
One shower screamed.
We didn't use that.
Yeah.
So it was really there was a lot of rust, I don't think it's mold, it's corrosion.
Corrosion. Yeah, it wasn't hazardous.
But things were broken, doors didn't open and close. Not only was became, whoops. I wonder, I don't think it would have made any difference. I think we probably still would have bought the house, and I don't think I feel like we got a good price, so I don't think that made a difference, but it just bumped up the renovation timeline. So now, though, thankfully, we're down to the last details, right? This house is super livable now. All the bathrooms function.
Yep, we're just waiting on some cabinet doors, but that's
door knobs, deep trim.
A lot of the
stuff,
stuff's up to us too to get our act together and pick things.
So, and then the dining room that I've posted that recently on Instagram in my stories that you may have seen. That was something that we've been waiting for a long time. Our living spaces and dining room. Anyways, we had a built-in. And it makes such a difference.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
And suddenly, it's after living here for over a year, I'm oh, now we're home.
Yeah.
Right? It was a big, big thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like that makes a big difference as to why we're podcasting today, of all days, is because I feel like things have just settled down. We've been living through a whole house renovation, the move, everybody's dealing with COVID, blah, blah, blah. And now we are, I'm so optimistic now that those dining room built-ins are in, that our life can continue.
It's starting to feel like that.
I feel like I'm really affected by the space that I live in.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize. I love renovating. I love picking finishes and like seeing it come together. But it takes its toll living through it, that's for sure. It's like pretty tiring.
I've decided it's not my favorite thing.
Chris doesn't love it. Doesn't love it as much as I love it. Okay, let's move on to some knit content, Chris.
Yeah.
Look what Chris is wearing.
So it's actually finished. I can I'll show you.
Wow, I could post some photos,
Yeah.
but it's hard to do this one.
I'm not doing a newscaster thing where the bottom half isn't finished.
He's
or anything.
wearing-
It's actually
yeah.
done. This is a sweater that I was working on. Hi, Micah.
Okay, so Chris,
Yeah, so this
2 years
the last
ago.
time we did a podcast episode, I was working on this sweater.
Yeah.
Not straight through, that's for sure. I did
You
not
took-
knit for ages.
you didn't knit for like a whole year.
No, and then the impetus for finishing this was a funny one. I got some yarn this summer that I wanted to make another sweater with.
Yes.
And I needed the needles. This one was on.
Yeah.
So finished it. Super happy with it. I'm really glad about
It
the
looks
way it
great.
turned out and the
It
fit
looks
on
perfect.
it. Yeah.
It looks perfect.
It's not easy. Like I'm pretty tall, and trying to get a sweater to fit in the body, the sleeves, the neck, to have everything,
yeah, it took
work out is a
some
little bit tough.
Rejigging and rejigging.
And I feel like it did work out.
You're also he's incredibly picky about so every time he puts on a sweater, like I feel like this would bother you. Look, see how this
You gotta
like,
know.
it's
I don't like the
loose.
flying squirrel thing. Like I don't like it.
But that's just like a sweater. You need space to move your arms. And he's
I don't
constantly
like it too loose. I
he'll
don't
go
like
like
it too
this
tight.
and he's looking in the mirror and he's just walking around like this. And I'm like, just don't do that.
I flex a lot in the course of a normal day if I'm out in public.
Anyways,
So
but your sweater looks great.
Thank you.
I love seeing you wear it. I'm glad that you finished. And now, so what are you going to knit next?
I guess if I don't knit something for the kids, which would be nice, would be I want to do a roll neck sweater in my Lismore
Yeah.
sheep farm yarn.
Yeah.
Haven't picked a pattern yet.
What would you knit for the kids? And since when do you knit for the kids?
I don't. I'm trying to look good on camera. I would knit.
He's like speaking casually, like, I'm always just knitting for the kids, practical stuff.
I would knit them all little cardigans.
How cute.
Yeah.
That would be lovely. Do you want to tell me about your hat?
This hat, the
Yeah.
only hat I ever wear.
The Siege hat. So Chris's nickname is Siege.
I think the way it works is if you wear something exclusively for a decade, you might get the pattern named after you.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's a simple 1x1 rib kind of fisherman style watch cap
Yeah, it's a watch
style
cap.
thing. But it's super flexible in terms of how you can wear it. Like
Yeah.
you can Chris is currently wearing it double brimmed. Like he folds it up twice so that it doesn't cover his ears.
But if I was outside, maybe I would roll it down if it was windy.
You could.
And it works.
He hasn't always worn it in this weird way,
It's not weird.
but you're committed to that look currently. You used to wear it a bit slouchier. I mean, that's the thing about a pattern.
Times change.
Yeah.
This is how you wear a hat now.
You've had it for, this is how you wear a hat now. Yeah, he's had it for so long and you've worn it in many different ways. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I still currently have. I have one in orange. I have one in green, black. I think deep sea. I've got a couple
Yeah.
going, and yeah, they're my favorite hat. I'm not a super adventurous knitter. I wouldn't knit myself a cabled hat or anything. So these are fun for me to knit.
Ooh, cables.
No cables or bobbles on mine, and yeah, I always enjoy knitting them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So literally for the past decade, every time I've posted a picture of Chris anywhere, he's wearing a hat. Like he packs this hat when we go to our cottage in Nova Scotia in the summer.
You never know.
He brings a hat, a knit hat.
know.
So people are always asking me for the pattern, and because I thought it was just like a super simple 1x1 rib, I didn't need to write up a pattern. But then finally, I found a way to put value into it. I hope. I included 4 different sizes. I included instructions for knitting it in DK or worsted, or 2 strands of fingering held together. I include instructions for making it faded. Like I hope that I've included value.
Your faded one looks super good, and the thing
Thank you.
about this one is I've knit a couple versions, and this one has really nice decreases.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about a hat. I feel it is the decrease, isn't it? And they're really lovely. Put your head down so we can sort of see
Especially
the
when
top.
it's this simple, you need
Yeah.
to make the details.
Look at that. I mean, it's so neat. So crisp. Perfect. So looking good, Siege. I'm wearing my no frill sweater by Petite Knit. This is, I held 1 strand of fingering in spruce, which is a really beautiful dark green. And then I held it with a strand of black mohair, sparkly black mohair. I don't know if you can see the sparkle. Probably not.
I can.
but it sparkles
Oh, it
a
tests
little
through it.
bit. Like
It's
it's
not
just got
over
a
the
nice.
top.
I think that the mohair was by Debbie Bliss. I saw it like on liquidation somewhere and loved it. And like this, I really love this sweater. I love the fit. It's super soft, and the color, the way that the black and dark kind of layered is really something that I'm super into. So
Your sweater collection is deep. You have a lot of sweaters, and I'll say, like, she wears them. They're in rotation. I don't know if you have a list or anything, but I'll see one and didn't even know it existed.
what did we were saying earlier about you and memory and time? No, I do have some that I knit like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And now, see, sweaters, unlike hats, I have the older ones I don't always wear as much because my style has changed. I used to knit sweaters a lot more fitted, and I don't like that as much anymore.
Yeah.
However, I did recently re-release a pattern, my very first sweater pattern called I Heart Erin. I designed it, I think in 2010.
Yeah, I remember it from the very early days of our house in Point Claire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 2010, maybe it was 2011, but either way, it's my very
It's a
first
classic.
sweater.
It's a really nice one.
And I wanted to like sort of update it with the charts and stuff and some of the instructions and expand the sizing. And so we knit it. I had it knit by a sample knitter in a new size, in the size that I would currently wear, which is less fitted than the original sample that I knit. And I just love it so much. And I'm so pumped that like the style still
Holds.
feels fresh. Yeah, like I feel like it's still good, and that's pretty exciting. That's the thing about knitwear, is that it's like so classic, right?
It's hard to make
kind of
something
a
not
fun-
timeless, really. You know, like
Well, it's not that hard. You totally could, but it's also possible for things to just like be current forever. I love that.
yeah,
Okay, I wanted to talk about what I'm working on next.
sure.
So this is what I'm currently working on. Oh gosh, Chris, you want to hold these?
That's what I'm best at.
Hold stuff. I just picked these random colors. Don't they look nice together?
They look wonderful.
So this is our new yarn, our new base that we stocked for our Boxing Day update, and we're going to have another update for it because I'm really, really into it. It's the Luxe Yak Silk DK. So
it's so nice.
merino yak silk blend, 60 merino, 20% yak, 20% silk. It's DK, but it's like it's a really, really bouncy DK, so you can get a worsted weight gauge or a DK weight gauge out of it, and I just absolutely love it. I knit a beautiful shawl. I'm going to put a picture of it. The Almina shawl by Lisa Han, and it's so beautiful in this beautiful drapey, silky, yaki yarn.
I would wear any of these.
I love the colors.
Yeah,
I just brought like
colors
a
are turning out
sample.
great. So it's a darker base. So
This is
when
natural.
you start, that's what it looks like natural.
That's what it looks like undyed.
Yeah. And so what that does is it just gives everything like a depth to it, right? Like the colors are coming out amazing on
sort
it.
of like layered. It looks like we've done more work than we have.
Yeah.
Because
It also,
it's
from
sort of-
a dyeing perspective, it absorbs the dye really, really well. You don't need a lot of heat to get it done. It's super nice.
I'm super into it. So speaking of hats that every time I post a picture, people want to know what it is. This is a hat I knit last year. This is our garnet colorway in pure wash worsted. And I knit this hat and then never published the pattern because I didn't think it was like super special. It's not that it's not super special. It's hard when you've been in the biz as long as I've been. TFA is almost 15 years old.
Yeesh.
I feel like I have seen everything, like cabled hats, like no, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but our kids are screaming and running.
Work through it. It's the best you're going to get.
So, but I've posted pictures. I do wear the hat. I do really, really like it. And what I mean by it's not special is just that it's a cabled hat. How many cabled hat patterns are there out there? 1 million? And so in order to publish a pattern, I like for it to be unique. I like it to be, to offer something to the people that they can't already find elsewhere. So, and that can be really difficult. But at any rate, but anytime I wear it, people comment on it and they want the pattern, and I'm like, all right, give the people what they want. So I'm writing up the pattern. Do you know what it is? Is that it does have a cool feature, and that is, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it at all, but within the rope cables, there's little baubles, and I was like, I don't feel like the baubles are they're small and they're not adding a ton. They add a little bit of texture, but it's not like a bobbly hat. And then I was considering making the baubles bigger. Anyways, long story short, I'm knitting the pattern again just to sort of make sure that I'm working out the tweaks and that I've got it the way I want it in the yak yarn, and it's going well, and you like it, and you
I
think
love
I
it.
should.
I
Yeah.
thought it was great. We discussed kind of the size of things yesterday and whether the bauble should stay or go, and I think they're awesome.
Yeah, so there's just small baubles that you can
Just a nice detail aesthetically.
or yeah, it does add a nice kind of textural element. Anyways, so this will be ready this month, and I am really hoping to do more designing this year. I feel like designing is the thing that I do that takes the most kind of mental energy, and so during times when my brain is very taxed, like during
well, for example,
remote
this
learn-
last year,
yes.
right? Like
for example, 2020 through now.
Yeah.
I just feel like I just don't have it in me, but I'm optimistic that this year is the year.
I feel like you've been ramping up more. You've been working on stuff and
I'm excited.
thinking over ideas. So.
And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the other project I'm currently working on. Those are literally that's the only project I have on the needles right now. And I need to cast on more things because it becomes stressful for me when I'm like, just like sitting around and I'm like, I want to just like reach for something easy to knit and I don't have anything. And I don't like that. Like we had a remote learning day on Friday, and all day I'm sitting beside my 6-year-old as he's figuring out how to do all that. And I had nothing to knit, and it was torture. Anyways, so I'm going to cast on some socks. But I wanted to show this. This is spinning, but it's fiber, it's color, it's yarn related. I thought it's kind of cool. Do you want to hold these?
I can, yeah. Can I do a close-up first?
Sure. So these are 3 skeins of yarn that I've spun like over the years. I think I spun this one before my son Micah, who is 6, he'll be 7 in May. So about 7 years ago, I spun this. I dyed this roving. I dyed a ton of roving like this, let's say 7 years ago, with the idea that I was going to spin a sweater's worth of yarn. Okay, so I dye the roving, and then I do. As soon as I spun it into singles, so there's like a bobbin of singles, I was like, oh, that's not what I thought it was going to look like. Like, it's so pastel, so blue. I thought it was going to be, there's a lot of white in it, and I thought that it was going to be more white. Like, I thought it was going to end up really light, and it ended up super blue. And so the first skein that I spun is this one. This is a big, like a 200-gram skein, and it's like basically worsted weight. I say basically because I don't really.
It looks a little heavier than worsted. Maybe if you averaged it out, it's worsted.
Yeah, there's, everything I spin is kind of thick thin. If you average it out, it's worsted. But I just was like, not great. It wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't what I wanted. So I took as one does, like 5-year break on it.
Yeah.
And then last year, I got really into spinning for like 2 months. I spun like crazy. Again, this is a thing I do, I guess. I hadn't spun for like 6 years. 5 or 6 years. Because I remember I hadn't spun since my son was born. And he was born in 2015. And then so it was 2020, so whatever, about 5 years I took a break. Then I got back into it, and I spun another, I decided to go thinner just to experiment with what I was going to do. So these are more like a fingering weight, or like a sport weight, I would say. But what's really interesting, I can tell a difference between the 2 skeins in terms of color, and I'm just totally blocking.
That's fine.
This is my new.
I yawned behind there, so it's
good.
Kind of help.
I spun these from the same braid, but just like, I guess
I
a
wouldn't
little
have
bit
guessed that.
differently,
This
right?
one's a lot beiger.
This one's like more beige and multicolored, and this one's like all blue. So now I'm doing more, and I'm just like spinning it. Now I have so much of the fiber. I'm just enjoying spinning. I'm spinning it up, and then I'm thinking of knitting it still into a sweater, but.
Spinning is definitely cyclical for you. It
I
comes
know.
up and stays up in the living room for a month or 2, and then it disappears for another year.
Here's my bin of freshly drafted fiber that I'll spin this afternoon, hopefully. So it goes from this, and then I draft it into this. I have to spin. I draft it before I spin, because I've been spinning also for like 13 years and am such a novice spinner.
I think you're great.
Well, like I'm okay. Like I can use the stuff that I spin, but like I have no idea what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
and I have to pre-draft, and I only spin one way. Like some people who are really into spinning, like they have all these different techniques, and they can like make different types of yarn. I make one type of yarn. I make 2-ply yarn, that's it. I've made 3-ply once, and it took me like weeks, and it just wasn't worth it for me. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. I only spin really with colorful stuff, because that's what I really like about it, is like the color. You know, do what you love. That's what I love. And that's it. So one day, I actually have an idea, now that I'm getting back into design. I have an idea for a sweater for that handspun.
What is it? You told me about an idea recently. I want to see if it's the same one without spoiling anything.
It's a sweater. What do you mean? What's the idea?
You told me about a certain type of sweater you wanted to make.
A tee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it that?
Yeah.
All right.
But
no
it
spoilers.
might have sleeves. I don't know. No, I'll say. So I have a sweater. You know my well, actually this is really up in my brain. Do you know my skylight sweater pattern?
I do.
I designed it using Curion, Noro Silk Garden, I think. It's beautiful, and it's a really neutral multicolor. It's got a lot of very, very light pastels on like a white beige. That is what I was
Aiming for.
Right.
Like,
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how I thought this was going to be a super light white, because there is some really bright colors in there. I guess it doesn't matter what I was thinking. It was a long time ago. I was young. I was a child. But that's what I want. That's what I was aiming for, okay? And when I didn't get that, I got kind of disappointed and put that project aside for several years. And then I designed my skylight sweater using the color that I love so much. But still, even though this looks nothing like it, they're connected for me, like, because I think about them together. And so I'm thinking of designing a lighter weight, because that's like a chunky gauge, like a really, you know what this means.
I'm working with you here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like a lighter weight, kind of more summer, because it has a lacy cable open work on it. And so I think I'm going to do like a summer sweater.
Summer sweater, something I have not tackled yet.
Oh my God.
I'll wear a toque in the summer, but not a knit sweater.
No. Do you know what's hilarious? I watched our last podcast episode before filming this to like get a
back
feel.
into it?
Yeah. I liked it.
I've never rewatched one and not been glad we did it.
And B, I had not yet released my rocket tee pattern when we filmed our last episode. However, I showed it as like, look, this is what I'm working on, and this is my next pattern. You teased me so much for summer sweaters, like for a summer tee.
Well, I was wrong. That pattern did great. Still
That
is.
is my most popular pattern by far, and I just feel like
Yeah, I'm not a convert to summer knits, but I will agree that's an amazing pattern.
Thank you very much. Well, the funny thing is that you do wear knits in the summer, because the way that we summer in Nova Scotia, you get cool evenings. Like you can pack a sweater and wear them in you could wear this to a bonfire in the summer in Nova Scotia on the beach.
Maybe I will.
Yeah, with that hat.
Yeah.
And shorts. So I feel like that's it. We're back.
Nice to be back. I'm glad to kind of get back into it, let people know every once in a while what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have like a real format plan of what we do. I just kind of wanted to talk about where we've been, where we're going.
What about taking questions from people for the next episode?
Yeah. I mean, I'll answer questions for sure. I
think that would be fun.
So if you guys have a question, why don't you leave it in the comments below, and then maybe we'll pick a few and we can answer them.
That would be
next
fun.
time.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're always going to be filming here. We'll see how this works. Maybe we'll do some in the office. I do love this yarn wall, but I don't want it to be the same background every single time. Kind of fun to mix it up, no?
It's another way of showing people a bit of the house too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. I hope that everybody is hanging in there. Things are, what a roller coaster, eh? What a roller coaster.
Still going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully we've got we're wrapping up all of our Boxing Day orders. They're heading out.
Yeah, we're
making
working
good
super hard to
progress.
get that out, and it's
They'll
going
definitely
really well.
be out within the allotted time.
Yeah.
So by the end of the month for sure. And then excited to work on a new update for next month.
Great to be back, guys. Hope you enjoy this, and we won't leave it as long.
Or will we?